Hey, I'm standing outside the Lion's Den with Rico Festa. He's just cleaning his windows and doing a bit of work around the place. We're going to go inside for a small chat. How's it going, Rico?
Oh, it's going great. This 10-degree weather after that heat wave that we had. I just have to do my windows. I got to do them, you know.
Hey, let's head inside and chat.
Okay. First of all, I got to apologize. I didn't shave this morning. It's a bit of a mess. I've been doing some last-minute cleanup and that.
Oh, yeah.
We are getting ready in order to list the property in order to put it up for sale.
Nice.
We've been in the restaurant business and the Lion's Den, a total of my family, for 67 years.
Wow.
We were picked #1 by ABC New York and California, not only during the 88 Olympics, but all the Olympic sites.
Yes.
We had the U.S. Olympic Committee, their headquarters was across the street, and they actually wanted, along with ABC, wanted to close the restaurant and just use it for their people, but Mom says there's no way I can turn her away.
Yeah.
My customers have been here all this period of time.
Yeah.
Everything was absolutely homemade. There was nothing that was pre-made.
I have so many fond memories of coming here.
Our cabbage rolls were the ones of Mr. Ken Boric Airlines. We used to make them especially for him to go to the North and the South Pole.
Nice, nice.
As a Ukrainian, the only person he trusted with his life was his mother, his grandmother, and ourselves.
Wow.
Once he tried our halibshi, our cabbage
Halibshi,
rolls.
that's the proper name, yeah.
You know, and we used to get quite a number of arguments from various people, especially during the petroleum shows. They says, well, the real halibshi, they're small like this and that. And I had a lot of the Ukrainian boys from Edmonton come down here. So he says, Enrico, make sure you have our trays all ready. He says, you must have been the cheap Ukrainians, because my grandmother, my Baba, used to make it with a lot of meat and sausage and nice and spicy and that. As a matter of fact, they used to cause troubles, because if they came with their wives, they'd have 2 large cabbage rolls. And the men would always finish theirs, and the women only one and bring the other one home. As a result, in the middle of the night, while she was sleeping, hubby would go into the fridge and kill the last cabbage roll.
Oh my goodness.
And always caused a fuss. So they got to a point that the wife says, you make sure you give him 3 and 2 for me over there, so I can finally get one at home. You know?
So much history, hey? So much history. I miss this place.
Well,
I've been coming here since the 1970s, up until the flood in 2013. And I worked at the Saddle Dome back in the early 80s. And I remember your mom and dad back in the day, and then when you and your wife took over, right? Yeah,
Mom ended up slipping and falling as a result of her diabetes and unbelievable stresses of constant tax increases on the properties in the downtown core.
Yeah.
Because the city, through their so-called wisdom, even though they understand the area is in transition, they've been taxing the living daylights out of the small businesses that they can't survive. They're taxing us like we're Bankers Hall, you know.
Well, hopefully
when we just opened the door, they used to announce her at the track so that all the guys, before they even started running their horses, they'd be all coming in and eating away. You know, when we had the heavy snowfall that they shut down the city on St. Patrick's Day way back when, the police and tow truck drivers just says, well, there's one place where we know is going to be open, because Mama lives upstairs, and she'll be cooking downstairs, and they were all in here bombed away.
Man, the history here, so many people, different walks of life, everybody came in here.
If you didn't care about people, and you don't care about people, you have no business being in the food industry whatsoever.
So true, so true.
You just don't feed anybody just anything.
I noticed the stools are different, and the tables are different. These are all different tables.
We changed, it's the original counter, but we resurfaced it with granite and the whole shop.
Wow.
We did, everything was totally removed out of the building, so all the subfloors, it took 2 years to restore after the flood and that.
I watched a lot of that occurring here,
Well, the main help that we had here during the flood was a few of my neighbors. They were beyond excellent. And the fire department from Saskatoon.
Okay.
And a lot of the engineering students that my son studied at U of S. And I used to be annoyed because I'd send him the cutlets and steaks and that in order to feed himself. And within a couple of week or 2, it was all gone. It was supposed to last at least 6-7 weeks. He says, what the hell is going on? He says, well, you know, the engineers, they all love to eat, but they can't cook. And Dad, we studied together, so he was feeding them. And that, they says, well, you know, I don't mind a meal or 2, but Jesus, it was murder. But they all got their sheepskin and did all their graduating, and we were stuck that we needed all type of certification in this engineering and that engineering.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, all my kids that were working all over the world, these kids from Saskatoon, the backbone, mainly Ukrainian.
The word
background,
spread, everybody.
They all came flying right
Isn't
back.
that cool,
It says,
hey?
You were family,
Wow,
you know.
wow.
The real Canadian tradition. That,
yeah.
You know, after 18, you got to.
It was like a beacon. It was like a beacon out west.
Come
Yeah.
back when you're really down and out. This says, well, you know, well, you're family. You know,
Yeah.
it just. You know, it just picks you up and you keep on going.
For sure, yeah.
The economic pressures and everything else that they put on with utilities, the constant carbon
Taxes and yeah.
the cost of food. It's not that people don't want to go out and eat.
Yeah.
You know, governments have made everything just unbearable.
True enough. So true.
They
So
haven't
true.
managed the industries properly, and in building all these electrical lines from one city to another city. The simple fact, if
Yeah.
you know basic electricity,
Yep.
is you're losing 40% to resistance.
Yeah.
So if you produce most of your power right next to the major cities
Yeah.
and utilize the energy you're burning off and flaring, you could make a hell of a difference
Oh, for sure.
to your environment. And where the cost to import, that's just what Canada has is resources. It's got space. So
And we share power too interprovincially
Yes,
if we need to and
but-
that sort of thing.
and
So
if
it's,
it wasn't for Saskatchewan not
Yeah.
listening to Justin, and Dad
Yeah.
would have been really ticked off with Justin. He should have followed Dad's advice a little
Right.
bit stronger,
Right.
and that instead of just acting. That didn't help.
No.
Pierre actually balanced the books.
Yeah.
He always used to say, "I'm the Prime Minister of all of Canada."
Yep. Yeah.
You know, and that over there. You know, so at
You know.
the end of the day, you know, if they made Lego blocks. Out of glass,
Mm-hmm.
and you made 500-600 acres at a time around major cities. That
Sure.
your people that require assistance,
Yep.
you know, over there help grow your own food over and above. You get a percentage,
Right.
and then you can say, hey, you can give them more or less a guaranteed wage.
Yeah.
But you're involved in the actual food without importing, and you make a hell of a difference. The gas that you're flaring away, you got it right here.
there's a lot of wisdom there.
But we had
Yeah,
a lot of
that's-
water that
yeah.
they're yelling. In the springtime, the bow is always over flooding. The elbow's always over.
I know I lived a couple of blocks from here and we had no power for the
Well,
8 days.
We had.
We didn't have a-
water was almost 1 meter high.
Oh, I know.
Front to back here.
I know.
And I've been yelling for ages.
Yeah.
In person, also with Mayor Nancy,
Yeah.
that this area didn't have the proper catch
Protection,
basins.
yeah.
When they put the infrastructure,
Yeah.
they still didn't put the proper infrastructure in
course
this
not.
area. And that
No.
we spent a lot of money.
Yeah.
But when we had that heavy rainfall this spring, the water was over
Of course,
2 feet
And
over here.
they can set up all the berms they want. Look over where Safeway is. Everything came up through the sewage.
But
I mean, it was,
the fact
you
of
know,
the matter is, when we had this spring, when we had the heavy rainfall,
Yeah.
we had 1.5 feet over the top of the crest.
Yeah,
right
yeah.
at Center Street here.
Oh, I know, yeah.
Because the drain to go out to the Elbow River,
Yeah.
that sucker is still a small 6-inch line that
Yeah.
they never replaced.
they never upgraded.
They
I
never
shot so much footage. It was 2013, June 21st to 23rd. I walked through this neighborhood wherever I could around Lindsay Park. I shot about 3 hours of flood footage. And I got some stuff on YouTube of your
But
place
it's
here.
not only the locals, but for example, here's the kids that had to work in the Stampede Grounds. They were
Okay.
called the bingo crew. I
don't know if I can
and
see. Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah,
they
yeah.
appreciate being able to get at least one square meal.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
doing 12, 14-hour shifts.
For sure, yeah.
Where could they go that you would be fed properly?
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
And so on. Here's some more
Well, hopefully whoever buys this place, they incorporate some kind of clause where they have to keep the signage. I'd love to have the signage.
I want the signage for
Okay,
myself.
yeah, that's true too, yeah,
The
yeah.
reasons why it's called the Lion's Den is I was born on August the 1st, making me a Leo.
Okay.
So if you ask someone, it says, well, which animal represents kingdom?
yeah.
It's the lion.
Yeah.
Okay, and if you ask any man,
My father's a Leo.
so if you ask any man, where does he feel most at home? In his house, it's his den. So if
Yeah,
you want to
yeah.
feel like a king, and
So
you
that's
wanna
how
be
the name-
totally at home. Got to come
See,
to the Lion's
all the
Den.
years I came here, I never knew that story.
Well, that was the whole reason. It's a
Wow.
bit of an ego trip, but the ego trip
whatever,
was
it's still-
meant on letting the guys be totally at home and be fed what I want to eat myself. If I won't eat it, you're definitely not
Well,
going to get it.
Leo, I got to cut it short because there's not much space on my phone. It's just a
We're the
little.
only ones with a $50,000 butcher room right on premise.
I know,
Make
I heard
sure
about that, yeah.
It was
Yeah.
Alberta number one crime.
I miss this place. I truly do.
Well, you miss your customers because, they'd always ask you, well, what's the joke of the day? If you can make them smile and forget their troubles for a couple of minutes, we're ahead of the game,
Yeah,
Because people forget that, cities and countries are made of people. It's more than just land.
I know.
And you got to be a little bit human about it and understand what's going on.
You're quite the conversationalist with so much wisdom and the gift for gab. I mean, I could listen to you all day. But I gotta cut this because it's gonna cut out, and I'm not
Thanks
gonna.
a lot.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming. We really appreciate you.
Thanks, Rico. Thank you.
Take care.